this shit works. What's up, everybody? I'm Dustin Coyne from Talkin Motorbikes, and I'm on with another bagger dude, Kole King, the dude that has a name that sounds like a NASCAR driver. What is up, dude?
Not a whole lot, not a whole lot. Just watch the sunset a little bit. Starting to get dark here. We're 2 hours advance from you, so
Yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah. It seems like it just gets dark super late here. Like I don't know. It's
Yeah,
6:30. It'll be dark. It'll be lit until like 8:30 tonight, probably.
I
So
think when we left Laguna, it seemed like it was about 9:30 at night. We were still driving up the coast, and it's just sun's out. I'm like, what? We don't have that at home, you know.
yeah.
That's extra hour of riding time.
So it's really fun. I literally just met you at that bike night in Salinas,
Yeah,
right? Frankie's like,
yeah,
dude, you got to meet Kole King, and I'm like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I tell you what, he's over the past couple times I've been standing around him, he's been talking to people and he's like, "Hey, you got to meet so and so." We were at Milwaukee, he's talking to some guy and I was just kind of standing there listening to him talk and he goes, "I want you to meet Kole King." He goes, "Cole, this is Bill Davidson." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's pretty cool to meet, Bill
yeah.
Davidson." Um, yeah.
So you just came off of racing at Laguna Seca, and did you do both the Hooligans and the Bagger at Laguna?
No, I wanted to. I ended up doing just the bagger. I did the hooligan last year. Uh, it's just too much going on for. It was just me and dad. We drove out truck and trailer, and we actually put cots up in the trailer and just slept in it. So I mean, it was just the two of us. So it was one of those things that it was a hard time juggling multiple roles between two people. The hooligan stuff is more of a make sure the tires are good, make sure the warmers are on, make sure the gearing's good, and the bike's got fuel in it, and that's go on the way. There's no song and dance, before the race. Whereas the
Yeah.
baggers, there's so much stuff going on with the baggers, and it's just for me that's a lot. Um, like I was telling you earlier, I've started out flat tracking.
Yeah.
I'm 27 years old now. Started
Such a
riding.
youngster.
Yeah, started riding when I was 4. Racing when I was 5. Started racing flat track, and that's all it was. I did a little bit of supermoto here and there. Um, got into the. I had a pro license from 2012 until 2017 for flat track.
So you did
Uh,
like the whole AFT
yeah,
nationals.
yeah, and at the
How do
time,
you how do you like I mean, I'm sorry to stop you, but like how do you sorry about the dogs. Um
I've got some too. They're
yeah,
they're
well, I got
barking
big
playing.
ass pit bull dogs,
Yeah,
like they're
yeah,
noisy. I don't know.
yeah.
But like how does a kid from Iowa, like how does a kid from Iowa get started and is racing nationals at a super young age? Like how like walk me through that. Like how did you get started and what led you to being this national dirt tracker guy to start?
So it's difficult. I had this
We got
conversation.
time, bro. Like
No,
what,
I know, I know. I had this conversation in Milwaukee with a couple guys. I get a lot of people that ask me like, "Oh, you related to Rich King?" Because Rich King's from Iowa. He raced flat track, ran for Harley Davidson, national number 80. Um, not related to Rich. Rich has a son, Aaron. I looked up to those two just because I thought it was really cool. You know, we had the same last name. We weren't related. They ran a cycle shop in Waterloo, which is about 3.5 hours north of me. They had some KTM's and stuff like that, and that's what I got a 50 from them. Which I guess, sorry, getting a little ahead of myself. We started out my dad grew up in a household of no motorcycles, no
okay.
motorcycles. You don't bring them home. He was born in '54. He had an older brother. When they turned 18, they bought Harleys and
Okay.
started chopping, building. Like that was the whole era in the 70s, and my uncle started a drag team, and they had, you get the bike to the end of the drag strip, you want to shut it off, you don't want to heat soak it idling back to the pit. So they bought Z50s, old, I think it was like late 80s Z50s, the aluminum tank, the orange number plates,
Yeah.
and bought two of them. Well,
Okay.
and then my uncle bought the other one. So the one sat here for years in the shop, and we had a little flat track north of town. It was Flint Bottom Raceway, and one night we went out, watched, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool," and then that's kind of what started the leap of motorcycles for me. I took my training wheels off at, I think, 2 or 3. I didn't like them. It was one of those
Yeah,
things. It
training
was
wheels
like,
are lame.
yeah. We had a concrete patio with like a center, like stool, whatever, table, and I
Yeah.
was just cutting circles around it the whole time. And it was like, I don't know. It just, to me, it always felt like, you just went left. And so then I started flat tracking, and I went through the ranks, amateur and all that stuff, and had quite a few broken bones this year. Like I said, I just turned 27 in February, and knock on wood, I haven't had anything serious since 2011, but I've had 26 breaks. So I mean, it was one of those things that it was
Like road race is safer.
yeah, yeah, pretty much, and it was almost every accident that was motorcycle related, other than one of them, which was here on the property, uh, was due to somebody else. Somebody sliding underneath me and wrecking in front of me, and I had nowhere to go, and I hit their bike, or their
Right.
bike flipping and lands on me. Never really my own stupidity, and that's kind of, I've always I've always tried to push as hard as I can, but ride within my means. And
Yeah.
it's one thing if I'm by myself and I go down, but if I'm by myself and I wreck because of my own stupidity and I take somebody else out, it it would bum me out. So yeah, so I turned 16 in 2012, got my pro license, and went flat tracking pretty much just in a van. First couple of years,
So
dad
you
went
and your
with me,
dad
and
in the van?
yep,
That's
yep,
awesome.
yep,
So you live
yep,
in that van life, sleeping in the van at the
yeah,
races,
yeah.
like the On Any Sunday movies.
Pretty
No
much, and
shit.
and then uh, and then it got to a point where it was like he was busy working for some of the nationals, and he couldn't come out, so it was like I started driving by myself. I remember going. I went out to Sturgis, raced Sturgis, and I was out there for a whole week, and then went down to Kansas for a whole another week, and then came back and raced Pure TT, and you know it was it was just a whole whirlwind of stuff, and um, I usually did relatively well. Uh, it was when I was an amateur, I did good. I had fast amateur bikes, but I never put myself out there to meet the people to have the acquaintances of, oh, you should use so and so to build your motors, or
Okay.
hey, this guy knows how to build really fast bikes. Talk to them. So it was like when I went pro, I had fast amateur bikes, which were then mediocre pro bikes.
Oh shit. Okay.
So it wasn't bad, but like my best finished was I borrowed, I think it was 2015. I borrowed a bike from Jay Maloney. He's out of New York, I believe. Um, it was set up for a 110-pound rider. I think I was 150 pounds at the time, and I went and raced Pure TT with it. And it was a fully built, top of the line national bike. Qualified sixth, and I finished sixth. And Pure
Wow.
TT is one of those places where you want to have good suspension. So to have it be valved for lighter than I am, it was one of those things that it kind of hurt my side of things. Uh, yeah. So and then I built a couple twins, race production twins class. Rules were changing left and right, and it was just like it seemed like every weekend you got to the track, there was 3 more rules added, and 4 of the previous were taken away. So it's like, man, we keep spending money to fit in rules, and it just became political and
Government,
yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Yeah.
And it turned in, are we really enjoying this? If we're doing what we can at first competitive, and now it's opening up to be more and more, we're, yeah, we could spend the money, but at the same time it's like, what are we gaining here,
Yeah.
so I in 2017 I set out all of 17, went back amateur, and I wasn't going to race flat track
How does
anymore.
one go back to amateur? I know here at road race, once you're expert, right?
Yeah, so
Like how
you
does
had
that? How do you go from racing pro nationals to going back to amateur? Like how does that or is
it
flat track a little different?
so what their deal is, that it might have changed now, but what it was if you had a pro license, you had to sit out a year from the last time that you raced a race,
Okay.
which I just set out from year to date, or on a calendar year. That's pretty much what I set out.
Okay.
So in 2018, like I said, I spent 17 riding a lot of motocross, having fun with friends, and just doing as much riding on the weekends as I could. And 18 rolled around, and there's a guy local to us that he sponsored quite a few people over the years. A lot of cool people had ridden his bikes. I'm almost positive Rispoli rode one of them.
Okay.
But so he passed away, and all of his stuff went to auction, uh, and we found out about it. Well, my family and one of my friends' families, they went in half and half on everything, and we got a few bikes, and then that got me back into, all right, let's go do Galesburg short track, which is a local short track to me in Illinois. Um, and then it turned into, hey, we're gonna go to Springfield and race Springfield. We're gonna go to Macomb and race Macomb. We're gonna go do these different races, and it was like, man, I'm having fun again, and what really started for me, what really started kind of the snowball effect, was my local dealership, Heartland Harley Davidson. They they kind of called me up and they said, hey, like, there's this X Games thing going on with Super Hooligans on Sportsters and whatever else. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Like, I'd I'd be down to do it if you could, because it was an invite only. You up. So in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't foresee this actually happening. Um, and then they called me up like 2 weeks later and was like, hey, we got you signed up. And I was like, okay, well, I've got to build a bike now. So
Yeah.
we built a bike, and we had a front end laying around that was off of a ZX10, I believe. And we had the forks. So we had trees. Originally, it was going to go on a custom chopper build we were doing with a flat track theme.
Yeah.
So the trees were made to accommodate the forks, and then the front wheel, the flat track wheels, were made to accommodate Harley bolt pattern with the ZX14 rotors. So we had the whole front end, inverted front end, flat track wheels, threw everything together, didn't really know what we were doing, and it was like, okay, let's go try this.
Dude, that is an
And
impressive level of redneckery right there,
yeah,
bro.
pretty much. It's if you looked at it, which it's got some stuff on it right now, but it's a legit hooligan Sportster. It's a full fledged flat track Sportster, and we threw it together, and we got together on a Wednesday, and this was how a short time, like, things, because SNS, they were back behind on parts. Got everything, like I said, got everything together on a Wednesday, had it running in stock street form, the motor wise. We're like, okay, let's start putting the flat track stuff on. So we put the taller shocks, the bodywork that I had painted, the front end, and just all sorts of things. And which, looking back now, like, we didn't know what we were doing, but it worked. It ended up magically working. The front end was short enough with the rear shock combination that instead of having like a D-rate kit, the front end and the shocks combined actually made the front end have a 26-degree angle, which is typically what you want for a flat track. And great. We got it together Wednesday in street form, rode it. I rode it around in town to make 100 miles just to break the motor in somewhat. Thursday, put it together in flat track form. Saturday, went over to Galesburg, which is 45 minutes away, raced it on Saturday, and then loaded up, said it was good to go, loaded it up and drove out to Industry Hills, California, in Los Angeles area for an X Games qualifier. And we left on either Sunday night or Monday morning.
And this was 2019. Okay.
Yep. And went out there, did qualify halfway through. So it was the first heat race, which you could transfer straight to the main if you I think there was 10 heat races. If you got first in the heat race, you were 2, and then everyone else outside of the first place had to go to it was speedway style. So it was just you kind of had points. It was a process of elimination. And there was 100 and some entries. So, I mean, there was a lot of people there. First heat race, I got the whole shot. I come around for lap 1, and I'm coming out of 4 going to the finish line. And like I said, this is only lap 1, and it just dies on me. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh, shit.
I look down. Yeah, I look down, and it's just pissing fuel out. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Well, we never flushed the tank. There was metal shavings in the tank. It ended up going into the carburetor, clogged the carburetor. The float stuck open. And we found all that out. Well, by the time we found all that out, we got everything flushed. They're like, hey, you're on the line for your LCQ. You got to go. And this was literally, I pulled off the track because I was like the last heat race.
Yeah.
And I was the first semi up or the second semi up. So I'm like, we didn't have hardly any time. So I'm like, okay, I started on the very outside, got the whole shot. I punched my ticket in, I qualified, and then I raced the rest of the night. And then we went to X Games 2 months later.
Oh, wow.
I was sitting second fastest. JJ Flaherty out of Wisconsin was first fastest, and he ended up wrecking, put himself on the back row, I think, and kind of cashed his weekend out. My heat race, I got a good start. A guy went down coming out of turn 2, and his bike was like 3 foot away from the hay bales. And when I came around, there was a guy standing in between the hay bale and the bike. I'm like, well, I'm not going to hit him because I'm not trying to run over an official. So I went around the bike, and another guy just plowed through. And then he was kind of swinging wide. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to dive underneath of him. Well, when I went to dive underneath him, since he wasn't going as fast, he was able to cut it down. I high-sided, wrecked, had to start on the back row. So I fought the whole weekend, or that whole day. I started on the back row of every race, and I worked my way up because it was the top 2 advanced every time. I worked my way up to second every time. And then they never watered the track, and it was just one of those like pop up inside of the building. Like, you guys are at X, but you guys are just at X Games. Like, you're just kind of a sideshow Sunday morning, 8:00 race, like nothing going on. Nobody was really, people were there to watch, but it wasn't nothing crazy. So the track was dry, and I didn't get a good start. There was a couple guys in front of me. I was running 4th the whole time. The one guy ended up wrecking, and I got 3rd. That's kind of where I settled at. I was faster. I was faster on a tacky track. And I had the speed. It became a one-line blue groove where you couldn't get off of it. And
yeah. Frankie, the last time I had him on, had this whole thing about describing what the hell a blue groove is. Because I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude.
Yeah,
like
it's so that's it's
it's like pavement almost, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But then everything outside of that 6 inches of pavement is the gravel trap. That's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
It's not deep, but it's just like
slick.
You might as well. Yeah, you're going from pavement to ice, and
man.
Yeah, and so I was bummed, and I'm still a little bummed about it. The guy who won, usually, I don't know about road race stuff, but usually if your bike blows up or something like that, and they do allow you to start with a different bike, you give up your starting position. If they allow you to start with a different bike, well, he started on the front row, right, pole position where he was on a different bike, and to my knowledge, it was a stock 883 that or low power if it was built, but low power, and it worked really good. And I can't be super negative about it and knock him for it, because he got a gold, but it was still
Right.
one of those things that it kind of on the outside looking in, like if that would have been me in my head, I would have been like, okay, yeah, like I'm not going to be able to start the race because my bike broke and I
Right.
can't ride somebody else's. Um, so it kind of stung a little bit. Yeah, so then that started the whole super hooligan or the hooligan stuff. Uh, I'd gone out to Costa Mesa later that year with Roland Sands and did their race. The following year in 2020, uh, Mark Mark Atkins, Rusty Butcher, he invited me out. He's like, "Yo, dude," he goes, "build an off-road Sportster. Let's do the Mint 400." And I'm like, "All right, never done that before. I've never done any desert stuff. Like I said, I come from from Iowa, from the grain belt.
And
We've got
off-road. Describe to me an off-road Sportster.
So I used so years ago I had an Aprilia SXV 550, and I used it for flat track. I used the motor. So I
Yeah.
had the chassis. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that front end because it's a long travel front end. Use an SXV front end on it. Uh, got the MXV front wheel because Aprilia made that 550 in a motocross bike.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know
And
exactly
then
what that thing is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I used Russ Warnemont Designs rear shocks. They were 17.5-inch shocks, so they were pretty long eye to eye, and I mean it had some travel. Like I said, I'd never done desert race before. The closest thing to desert is we got a place over here that's nothing but sand, but it's all river sand because we're a river town, and I don't know what to expect. So I'm going into it thinking, rattlers, cactus, this, that, and I made, so it was like 2 loops, 120 miles a loop. I got a loop down, and then I grabbed my phone on the last stop, and I was like, I'm gonna grab my phone, grab some water, throw up my Camelback, and I'll be on my way. I think I passed mile marker 25, and there was like just a sand wash, and I was going like 5 mile an hour. Tucked the front end, snapped the handlebar. There's a video on my phone or on my Instagram about it. Snapped the handlebar, so I mean it was completely off. The clutch, I could still grab the clutch and stuff like this. I had to turn around right out of the desert to I think it was like 10 miles out, and then found a hard road. Rode the hard road all the way down.
With your handlebar dangling in it.
Yeah. So in the video, because they're like, my brother-in-law was like, "Yeah, dude, your GPS," because they could follow you on GPS, and it said your GPS was at 0, and then all of a sudden you start doing 65. I was like, "Yeah, I was on my way back." He goes, "With one handlebar?" I said, "Yeah, I was just, I'm just cruising down a gravel road, 65, and I'm like holding on to the throttle here, and I got my clutch here with the handlebar
Oh my
snapped, and
God.
it's like I'm good work, and yeah, I did that, and I was bummed about that. It was one of those things. It's like it was so much fun because like I said, I've never done anything outside of flat track. I've traveled all over. I've done a lot of racing here and there, coast to coast. I've done some trail riding quite a bit, like in South Dakota around Sturgis area, but I've never done anything desert wise. And I thought it was so cool. I thought it was so fascinating, but I was bummed because I didn't cross the finish line. I didn't have an extra set of bars. I couldn't change them out, and I was pretty bummed. We were leaving there, and we got a notification after. So this is the weekend was over. We left the Bellagio, and we get notifications, hey, world's coming to an end. They closed down all the buffets. They said Bellagio has been contaminated, and like all of the chains that like the owner of Bellagio owns, everything shut down. So we're coming through and we're like, well, I guess we're not really anywhere going in a hurry. So we stopped in Colorado and hung out, and I think we did some. I think we did some white water rafting on the way back. But it's just that's when COVID happened,
Yeah.
and the super hooligan stuff was really starting to pop off, and the hooligan flat track was like getting big, and after the X Games things, like that was pretty successful for me. I had people reach out to me, and I thought that was really cool. I try not. I've always been a person like I don't really care to ask. I don't want to come off as that person. Like, hey, I know people do it, and I know that's how you get sponsorships and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's to me, it's hard because I don't.
You seem like when I met you at Laguna and at that bike night, you were like the low key dude, like just kind of
Yeah.
checking shit out. Like,
Yeah, I love people watching, like I said, and I'll sit back and I'll watch how things unfold, and I've always been the person that I hate to be a burden to somebody. I hate to ask too much, and stuff like that. So it's like when I had after X Games, when I had people start reaching out to me, I was like, yeah, dude, like that's cool, and we were planning on 2020 and starting to stuff around, and the world came to an end, and it kind of sucked for everybody. There's some flat track and stuff going on still, not a whole lot, but I mean, everything got so weird and just
yeah, I mean, we had to shut down the track stuff for us too,
yeah,
the road race track stuff, and we it took a few months, and then some of the tracks were like, yeah, we're opening. This is
yeah,
dumb,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we had to jump through some hoops, and I still have in my trailer, I still have a bunch of chalk in there from because we're like having to paint X's on the ground and be
yeah,
like, okay, this is your 6 foot,
yeah,
So I mean, we jumped
yeah,
through a bunch of bullshit hoops just to kind of open, and then we went to Laguna, and we did a track day there, and dude, it was like massive hoops. I mean, it
yeah,
was like everybody had to wear a mask in the paddock. If you weren't on the track, you had to wear a mask, right? So we even made masks. We had track days masks, dude,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
Yeah. So I mean,
that's one of
we had to
man,
sign all these waivers and
yeah.
contact tracing bullshit. Like it was a lot, dude. And
It
we ended up getting thrown out anyway. Like they're like, nope, you're out.
dude, it got so weird, like, and the crazy thing to me is, like we've got some restaurants around here, and they just started like doing curbside pickup. But hey, you want to get a margarita, like a pitcher of
Oh yeah,
margarita, curbside pickup, and it's like, okay, like yeah, let me just
that makes a
douse
lot of
on this.
sense.
Yeah,
Let's
let me
go.
douse
Let's
on
go
this while I
drive
get
around with
home.
a
Yeah,
cocktail.
yeah. So it's like, I don't know, dude. Things got so weird, and
Yeah.
propaganda this and propaganda that. It's we're here today, so that's one of those things, and
Yep.
yeah. So 2020's over. There's kind of a couple mess ups there with the racing, and for me anyways, and 21 started, and I started chasing the Grand National Hooligan Series.
What is
Um,
that?
so they do like their hooligan rules are it has to be a 750 or 650cc twin and
Okay.
bigger, production frame. Uh, that's pretty much the rules. You can't change. You can't cut the neck. You can't
Is
change
it
the
dirt
top
track?
shock mount. Yes, flat track.
That's dirt
Sorry.
track. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and it was really cool. I had a lot of fun. I won 8 of the 13 races, and uh, I ended up. I mean, there's a lot of races that like. I mean, I was always in the top 3. So
So
all
you're
the
like this
remaining,
legit dirt track dude for
but
years.
yeah, and I think that's a lot of people gave me shit. They're like, dude, you're on a cheater bike because I built that KTM there. I had Savage Customs build it. Andy DeBrino actually has one or
Yeah.
had one. And people, around here, they were pissed. And it's like, there was tracks where there's a few races where I can't go, and I'm like just trying to ride the brake, trying to do this, trying to do that to make it work. And finally, things started working. Like the tire got hot enough where it started getting traction, and it actually started working. Like the Sportsters, those V twins, they put down torque to the ground so much better. And torque for flat track is what gets you out of the corners, And if you have a good power delivery, that's what you're dealing with at flat track.
So you guys don't use tire warmers in dirt track?
You know, I got out of it when I think people started using tire
Okay.
warmers. But that's also one of those things where you'll run 20 laps. If it's on a blue groove track, you could run, like for the nationals, you can run 20, 25 laps if it's a fast enough lap time, because I think it's 10 minutes plus 2. So I know kids that a couple of my buddies, they've sent me pictures of their 450s after an AFT national, and the back tires peeled down to the cords. And I think, I don't know if that's because they're using a tire warmer, but I have seen guys run tire warmers on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
So
curious.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
getting a
no,
little look at a different kind of sport that's two wheels.
yeah.
Those guys are crazy
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 140 into the corner on dirt, and
with no brakes,
so
right?
yeah. So that kind of not to jump forward. Okay. So I started. I finished 2020 out. I'm like, hey, the bagger stuff was going on. I'm like, I want to go do the baggers. But that was a big commitment, obviously, as you know. To build a race bagger is a level of commitment. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I've only done supermoto, and that was back, I was on 85s. It
Right.
was just a flat track bike, really, essentially. It wasn't nothing crazy. I had a 150R that I did supermoto in St. Louis one year for, and I still maybe 12, 13 years old, so like, again, nothing crazy. So I didn't know if I was going to like road race. I'd never done it. I'd grown up with, Hayden Gillum. I grew up with Rispoli, JD Beach, all those kids, Nick McFadden. There's a bunch of them. Jake Lewis. They're all from Kentucky or
Yeah.
all over the place. But it's like there's a bunch of them that I grew up racing with flat track, and Jake Lewis, he's my age, or if not a year or two around it.
Yeah.
Same with Hayden Gillum, and it's like they kind of all split and went road racing.
Yeah.
And to me, that was never around me. Like I wanted to. I remember Miles Thornton. He one year or Winter Nationals, his dad had like I think it was like an 85, some sort of 85 road race bike. It was 2-stroke.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, he goes, if you ever come down here, like, because we're good friends with him. He's like, if you ever come down here, I'd love to put you on it and let you try it. I'm like, okay. Well, I never
Took him up on that opportunity.
Yeah, and it upsets me because I wish that I would have. But in the same sense, I think about it now. It's like, I'm 27. I've got my head on right. And I don't think in road race, I hate to say it, but in road race, it doesn't seem like age is anything but a number. You get.
You got
like,
Josh Hayes is like damn near 50, right?
Yeah, and then you get Jeremy McWilliams. That he's old.
That
dude.
Jeremy McWilliams. What is he like?
Yeah.
11D7? Like I don't even know.
Something. Yeah. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like I kind of beat myself up, but I try not to at the same time. And I started the hooligan stuff last year. So for me, the process of getting
So you started the hooligan road race stuff last year.
Just last year.
So you've only been road racing a year.
Yeah. So this
Fuck you, man.
This is where it gets really, really good.
That's so weird. Like
I know
you just up and decided to change disciplines, and you're like racing nationals.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's cool, man.
You know, and you know, I got some friends that they gave me shit about. They're like, I can't keep up with you. One minute you're doing this, one minute you're doing that, one minute you're, you know, flat tracking a Harley, next minute you're racing a bagger. You know, like what are you doing? You know, and it's like, hell, I'm still building pit bikes and riding up to the neighbor's house up the road, and you know, riding on his pit bike track. And it's like, I try to spread myself. I try to do as much as I can without spreading myself too thin. You know, I think when it comes down to it, like,
I hear that.
yeah, and I think when it comes down to it, you know, motorcycles are a way of life, you know, and I know everybody, you know, and it so there's a deal that went around. There's a video that went on viral on Instagram. It was a dude did a burnout on a bar, you know, and it was different, you know. It's like a stunt rider, but he did a burnout on a bar, like I said, and I seen the comments and I'm reading all these people saying all these negative things and just I mean it's going viral. Like people are cussing them out in different languages, and I'm like, man, this is wild, you know. Like I've never been a part of a video that has gone that viral, and it blows my mind because at the end of the day, it's like, man, you know, people did the same thing years ago and nobody batted an eye, you know,
Yeah.
or at like I see people comment about how like, oh, the Harley stunt ride and stuff is stupid or this and that. It's like at the same time they could be saying the same thing about, you know, supermoto or whatever, you know. And it's like
Yeah.
either way when you look at it, no matter what. And that's, you know, the bike builder community is the same way. It's like I don't there's a lot of bikes that I don't like, but I have so much respect for the people that build them, because at the end of the day, you're hopping on a motorcycle, you're riding it to clear your mind, to, you know, deal with your own problems or whatever. It's a gateway, and that's, you know, that's what I try to do. Like I said, I try to do as much as I can on the motorcycle because I thoroughly enjoy it.
Dude,
Um,
that what you just said there's a lot of hate in this game, man. I mean,
there
look,
is,
when the baggers showed up, a lot of people were super against it.
yeah,
Like, honestly, like I was like, that looks weird. It doesn't seem right,
yeah,
you know.
no,
But
no,
now, like the last couple years, been watching it, man, it's like some of the most exciting racing. The
yeah.
sound of those fucking things going over the banking at Daytona
Oh, it's wild.
sounded like V8s. You know,
Yeah.
it's awesome sounding, and then the lap times too, man. Like y'all are
It
crazy. The
it
lap times you're doing on a 600-pound
yeah
motorcycle at
it
Laguna was insane.
yeah it
Like
blows my
let
mind.
just really quick. Like I don't have the timing sheets in front of me, but like what was your best time at Laguna Seca?
I ran a 135.4.
You
Um,
ran a 135 for on a
or
Harley bagger.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's That's insane, guys.
yeah.
People watching this show, there's probably a bunch of you guys that couldn't do a 35 on your
Wyman,
sport bike.
I think Wyman tickled either 128.9 or
Yeah,
129. I think some of them are in the 128s.
yeah,
And here's what here's what blows my mind. You know, uh, like what I was gonna say was my road race knowledge and experience is so little. I went down to Miami last year in February to get my road race license, because you're not getting a road race license in Iowa in February,
yeah. It's either
unless you got
Florida
a
or California.
yeah,
There's the only
unless
two
you got a
places.
salt truck and a couple plows. You're not getting anywhere in Iowa. So um, yeah, I went down to Miami, down to Homestead, got my road race license. They wrote me off. AMA approved it, all that stuff. And
Yeah,
my first race, my first legit race, because like I said, I did Miami and then nothing, straight to Daytona. I told Andy, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna qualify top 10. Like that's my goal. And he's like, dude, good luck. Like it is super hooligan, but at the same time, everybody on that grid in the top, I think there's 25 of us. I would say in the top 20 has the utmost um, knowledge and experience on road racing. You
yeah,
know, I mean, it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're Mick Williams or O'Hara, whether you're Corey West, he's a really good rider, damn good rider.
Yeah.
Patricia, anybody, all of them have so much power or so much track time, and it's like, so he told me that, and he's like, dude, I hate to break it to you, but good fucking luck.
Yeah.
And I was sitting 10th, and I got bumped to 11th. So I was like, okay, well, that bums me out. That's not my goal, but I'll take it. Uh, I ended up ninth on race day. Race day 2 got pushed back due to weather, and they didn't think they were going to fit us in, with the
I
200.
was there. Yeah.
Yep.
That was
So
the weekend we
then,
got rained on a shitload, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was just nothing but rain.
Mm-hmm.
So then we loaded up, came back home, and just sat, hung out. And I think I did some flat. And then we went to Atlanta. I did Atlanta. I qualified ninth, and I got a pair of eights at Atlanta. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, that's awesome.
Making
And I was like,
progress.
yeah, making progress slowly but surely. And
At a national.
yeah, my second national
So not
third
even
road race for
fair,
sure.
dude.
Yeah.
Like,
So and then I go. I got home, and there's quite a bit of time between Atlanta and Laguna. I was like, hey, like I learned to ride my bike better. So I went to Blackhawk Farms, um, and it's not a bad track. It's got some cracks and crevices and just stuff like that. So I mean, for me, it was like I just came from Atlanta, and now I'm riding a backyard track. What it felt like, which again, it definitely helped. There's a lot of things that's like, okay, I know how to maneuver around different cracks and different features of the track now. Um, and it gave me seat time, obviously. So
yeah.
I did one practice day, and then I went to Laguna and raced Laguna, qualified eighth. The bike started acting weird, and on the start of the race, I was, like I said, I was starting eighth. It just fell on its face for the first 60 feet.
Oh shit.
My fiance, she told me that she counted in turn, I think 4. I was in 17th,
Oh
and I
wow.
went from all the way up to 7th, and in five, it was a 5 lap, or maybe it was an 8 lap race. I don't know. I think maybe it was 8 laps, but in 7 laps, I got all the way up, made 10 passes, got all the way up to 7th. And it's Patricia, and I'm passing her. I'm coming down in over the hill, cresting 1, going into 2. I'm backing in. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna get this on film because it looks like I feel the
You're
part
like,
of
I
road
look
race.
just like Tyler O'Hara right
Yeah,
now.
I'm like, I feel like these guys look, and I was backing in around her, and we keep going, and next thing I know, going up the hill before the corkscrew, that Indian of hers, she turned that thing on, and it just wicked that throttle and past me. I'm like, dude, this ain't even fair, But I chased her down, and got to 11, and I tried making an over under, and she just outpowered me down the straightaway. But so I got another 8th, and I got 7th overall. So I got 7th overall in my first ever road race season with only, you know, with no track time. I guess one race weekend to get my license.
Oh
So I mean,
man.
I did 7th overall with all my experience being from Moto America.
Dude,
Uh,
that is not the typical road race story. You know that, right?
no, oh, I know, and that's
Like
why it's
most of
like,
us have to like slave away and club race and build points
yeah,
and get the club to sign off so you could do the national maybe, and then you got to go
yeah,
and hope to qualify with
yeah,
whatever hunk of shit that you're riding,
yeah.
and then you're just like getting it done on the Harley. Like
So
that's
yeah, so at the
wow.
time I was on a KTM 890 for the Super Hooligan stuff.
Okay.
Um, and that was like I said, that was a go do this. Like, I talked to AMA, and they said, hey, like the main one of the main guys was like, hey, like I've watched you since you've been little. Like, I know you're not a dangerous rider. If you have the speed to stick up with the guys, and you don't cause any problems, we'll see what we can do. And the Super Hooligan stuff, I hate to say it, the rules, or I shouldn't say the rules, but the
Format.
yeah, kind of the classification of getting your license is, I wouldn't say it's loose because it is relatively strict, but it's not. It's more or less of a, can you ride a motorcycle? Are you competitive?
Yeah.
Are you going to be danger to somebody? Is your bike going to be danger to somebody?
Right.
And if you can check those boxes properly, you can
You're
damn
in.
near get a license. Yeah. And that went, to the wayside, and I was pretty pumped about it. And it was something that was different, and I enjoyed it so much because it was like with dirt, it's like you get done, you spend all day at the track. It's one day, but it is, as soon as you get there, you're busting ass all day long. You might go until 1 or 2 in the morning, depending on where you're at,
Yeah.
what promoter's putting it on. You get done, you got sweat, mud, dirt all down your back because the dust turned to mud. Your bike's filthy, and it's like, man, now you got to drive home. You got to clean up. It's like, I got spoiled in the road race, and then I started doing the dirt track again. It's like, man, I don't even want to do this stuff anymore. It's like,
Yeah, you
I
gotta
gotta
like
go home.
get dirty
Yeah,
and
I gotta go home and
what?
clean my stuff. And I was talking to somebody. I'm like, you guys, to me anymore, I feel like you guys are kind of peasants. Like
Oh shit.
go do the road race stuff. Not necessarily like that, but
No, that's
it was,
hilarious, dude.
yeah, it was just like, I was joking around with one of my buddies. He's like, man, he goes, why do you like road race so much? I'm like, because I don't want to get dirty anymore, and I mean, I still enjoy it. Like I said, there's a handful of tracks that I would love to go ride, given the opportunity, or if I've got a free weekend. Um, like Brainerd next weekend is during one of the biggest races at Galesburg, which, like I said, it's a local short track, but I mean, it's a bar banging, like, it's out for blood.
But you're gonna be at
And
Brainerd.
yeah, and when you're laying in the corner, you're throwing that thing on the cases, and it's a fun track. And it's like, man, I don't like missing it, but at the same time, it's like,
Brainerd.
yeah, yeah. So
You've
yeah,
been to
so
Brainerd before, right?
no,
You
nope,
didn't go last year.
no, because remember,
Okay.
Miami, Daytona, Atlanta, Laguna, and that's it. That's all I've ever done. I haven't stepped foot at a track outside of that. I did, well, I guess outside for last year. This year I did. Dunlop invited the baggers to Road America for a tire test. So I did do a tire test, which was 4 laps in the rain and then 4 laps on dry. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even see my RPM on this thing. Like, let's just go home. And so we loaded up. So yeah, those are the two things that I've done. As far as track time
It's
goes.
crazy. That is,
Uh,
dude. That is. You're gonna dig Brainerd. It's a little different, but I think you're gonna have a good time there, man.
one of
It's
one
it's
of the
it does have that carousel thing that has like
yeah,
you go into it and you're like on the side of the tire like forever,
yeah.
and then it's literally like you loop damn near all the way around, and then there's a chicane at the end of
Yeah,
it. So
I've heard, and I don't want to get in trouble saying this, but I've heard a lot of people call it Possum Holler. That it is
Possum
the
Holler.
that it is the Possum Holler of the Moto America tracks. You know, so I
That's
don't know what that. I don't know if
that's
that's in.
probably accurate, dude. Like
Yeah,
there might be a couple of CRA dudes that are up there that might have something to say about that, but
yeah,
I don't know if Jesse's watching, but that's pretty funny.
yeah. Well, like I said, I've never been there, so I can't give my input or my description on it.
All
But
right.
that's what I've heard. So it's like, going into it, I say I'm gonna expect the worst, but
I wouldn't expect the worst. It's actually all
no,
right. I mean,
no, yeah, and
it's a
that's
little
what I
weird
hear.
when you'll see what I'm talking about when you walk
Yeah.
the track, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think what you're gonna see is like, when I did a track walk, like track drive with Richard when we tested there a couple years ago, and you know, the one thing I noticed right away, I was like, "Ooh, there's like a lot of walls here." Like maybe I'm just like a spoiled California desert bitch,
Yeah. Yeah.
like bougie, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
man, there's a lot of fucking walls out there, and
I
and that chicane thing seemed kind of weird to me. But when I
yeah.
got to ride it, I was like, "All right." this is kind of rad.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
don't.
super duper fast, like that turn
Yep.
one through air,
That's
turn
what I
one and
hear.
two are like super insanely fast, like on the pin kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then
That's
you've got a couple of 90-degree, you know, right and left hand corners, and then you've got
yeah.
that like carousel thing that or whatever they call it with the chicane at the end,
Yeah.
which is really it's really weird. Like
That's what I
not
hear. I hear there's
yeah.
like a this the front stretch is like a dragway, and then you just go from being wide open throttle and a quarter mile of drag or however long, and then you just
No,
dive.
that's the old
Oh,
Brainerd.
that's the old. Okay.
What you're using is not that.
Okay. Well, then I've got a whole different.
Let me see. Maybe while I'm talking to you, maybe I could pull up their race track or whatever the track map because
Yeah.
it's pretty trippy. It's like
I think I've looked at it. Um. Yeah. So
yeah,
I go into it with zero knowledge on the track other than what I've seen online. Uh. Like I said, I didn't do any road race this year. I wanted to do Daytona.
yeah,
Or sorry, I've done road race. I haven't done any road race prior to Road America and Laguna. I wanted to do Daytona for the Super Hooligans, uh, but there was an AFT hooligan deal going on where they kind of like they had the GNHC hooligans with AFT at the flat track. And I
yeah.
was like, yeah, like I would love to be a part of that. That was during qualifying day one for Moto America, so it was like I could miss it and not qualify and start on the back and then work my way through. But at the same time, I was like, I don't, me and the fiance, we went down and it was just us. And I was like, well, that's gonna be a lot of sitting for her, and a lot of racing and whatnot. And like, I didn't have a problem with it, but at the same time, I was like, I'd like to. It was her first time down there, and I'd like to show her
I
more.
dug up the track map, bro.
All right,
So I don't know if you could see this, but you could see like
oh,
the red part. That's the track that you're gonna ride on. So
okay.
you
So it's not the full. It's not the full
nah,
mile.
dude, not it's not that full deal where you're going over that long straightaway. But dude, I'm not shitting you, man. When you go into turn one, you're on the gas, and then turn two, you like tip in, and you're like accelerating on the side of the tire. It's so gnarly. Um,
So between 12 and 13, that is the start line.
I don't know where they're gonna have you guys start. Honestly, I don't remember. I actually between 11 and 12, I think, is where you guys had the start line. That
Let
little
me
blue line
see.
right there is a bridge that people walk across. So you're going under the
Oh,
bridge right
okay.
there. So I
Let me
think
see if I can
the
pull it up.
starting line is between 11 and
Oh,
12,
nope. Starting line is
like in this area.
between 13 and 1, and it looks like it is more on
Is it?
turn 1. Yep. It's more
Hmm.
towards, if you zoomed in,
Well, I mean, last
that,
year on TV they did it between
yeah,
11 and 12.
yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
what I thought. And then,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
And then there's that carousel thing. But that's kind of what you're up against, dude. You got
yeah.
that little,
I'm
it's gonna be
excited.
fun. I think you're gonna have a good time there.
I'm really excited.
Have you ever thought about trying a support bike and doing the super sport super bike thing?
I've
Or you do like bleed the baggers?
no, no, no. I don't. That's I don't know. So I would like to. I thought about it last year. I thought about doing. I was like, oh, maybe we should just shit can the bagger idea. Um,
Really?
yeah, and buy a RS 660. I
Okay.
was surfing for him. I was like, Twins Cup looks legit. It looks awesome. Like I'd love to do it. And it still it's a lot of badass racing. There's a lot of it gets dicey. There's a lot of bar to bar. There's a lot of good maneuvers. I think the coolest one I seen was Anthony down in Daytona when he bounced off the wall and kept
Oh,
it up.
dude.
That
Yeah,
was pretty wild.
Mazziato.
Anthony's his name, right?
Yeah,
I
Anthony
yeah
Mazziato.
yes
Yep.
yes yes.
Yep.
So that I don't know. To me, that's wild, and I thought the Twins Cup were so cool, and I'm like, okay, that's relatively similar to like my 890. obviously it's full fairing, so it's going to be more aerodynamic. It's going to be a little bit faster. But I'm like, that's cool. But then I started thinking, I'm like, there's 40 or 50 entries depending on where you're at in the weekend. It's like, man, that's a lot of people. And a lot of them are fast. Like they're, a lot of them are really, really fast.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I don't know if I
You're a lunatic, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So it's like, I don't know if I want to jump into that. So I'm like, let's just continue on building this horse of a bagger, and we're gonna do that.
All right.
Like I said, I was gonna do Daytona. I did the flat track. Won the Hooligan class at AFT for the first, season and opener, pretty much Daytona, which was huge. I mean, that's the first round of the year, and you do that. And I did a couple other rounds with them, and didn't necessarily go as planned, and it just kind of bummed me out a little bit. And now looking back, it's like after the last round that I did with them at Lima, I've realized that the motor has gotten pretty soft, and I've beat on it for the last 3 years. So it's like, okay, I should probably just go through it and rebuild it. Yeah. So then I was building a bagger. I got the wheels, full brake setup for Behringer, swing arm, suspension. I got all that stuff accumulated over a short period of time. And before I started spending any more money, I was like, okay, I need to do full motor and like drivetrain and bodywork. Well, I ended up talking to DTF Performance. I was going to get the bodywork, and I was just getting ready to ship the motor out. And he goes, why don't you just buy my whole bike? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, that's going to be a lot of money. Indian had released theirs. You could buy their turnkey bike for $92,000. And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, to build a race bagger, you're going to spend a crap ton of money on it. Like I knew what I had already put in mind, and I didn't even get to the motor yet, or the transmission, or all the extras. And it's like, so buying one already done, it was intimidating. And he shot me a price, and I was like, all right. And I hung up the phone. And I talked to him. I called him back the next day. I'm like, hey, did I hear you right? Because he shot me such just a. To me, it seemed off the wall. It was
like a crack smoker deal.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, what's the gig,
Yeah.
And he's like, no, dude. Like he goes, I've heard about you from quite a few people. He goes, every time we talk, he goes, you're super respectful. He goes, you seem like a really nice kid. He goes, I want to help you out. So I got it just shy of what you can get a new bagger for, which those are going anywhere from, depending on which model, the most you could spend on one's like 38 or 40, I think. So I got it underneath that range, and it's like I couldn't complain. Like I said, I got an extra 2 sets of Dimags with it and some other stuff. And
wow,
it's the old bike. It's Michael Barnes used to race it.
Oh, okay.
Back in 21. So
yeah.
At that time, they were making 100 and I think 60 some horse. And now I do know for a fact I'm making 155, 157, which, that's still a lot, but then you get in with everybody and it's like, no, dude, they've evolved so much in 2 years. And, I've heard, I know for a fact that minimum is 175.
175 out of a bagger.
Yes. And
Dude.
I know some guys are running, mid 180s.
Mid 180s on a big ass Harley bagger.
Yeah.
God damn.
And I've heard more. I've heard a couple guys factory wise. I've heard rumors of 209. And
that's like superbike territory,
man.
And
that's one of those things that it's like I don't think that that's true, just because
that doesn't sound right.
They don't live like that. They don't live like that. I could see low 190s. I could see that. If that's what they're at, sure. With that being said, I did Road America, and I got a 13th and a 12th. the first day I was able to beat Patricia on the Salomon bike. Second day, she had her shit figured out, and I thought I did, you know. But she got me. I outbraked her into 5, and then I was having brake problems, and all weekend long I chewed through a brand new set in 5 laps of rear pads.
We talked about
Yeah,
this,
and it made
right?
no sense, dude. I don't have them in here with me. I wanted to bring them in, but
Well, I saw your
um,
caliper,
yeah,
your
yeah,
6-pot rear
yeah,
caliper. I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
what kind of
yeah.
redneckery is that
Four
shit?
four puck. It's
You're
just
messing up my story, man.
yeah, no, you're fine. It's just the generic Brembo caliper, monoblock caliper, and
But it's like really meant for a front.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean the thing was
And
like huge.
somehow I blew through a brand new set of pads, and just chewed them out. And so when I went into 5, it was lap 1, I think, and the brake went real soft, and I was like nothing but front brake. Then it started pushing. I'm like, okay, this isn't working, and I ended up going wide, and that's when she got underneath me and cat and mouse. She
Is
was
that a
out.
thing with you guys? I mean, on the road race side, most of the braking is on the front, right? Like a lot of guys, myself included, don't even ever touch the rear brake unless we're in the dirt. So I'm guessing because you guys
So
have so much extra weight, you need
I don't
both.
I don't know about them. I I use both. More of a 60-40, 70-30 ish, more front than rear.
Okay.
But I try to use the rear to help accommodate. I don't have 12 clutch packs sitting in my trailer. I've got one set of discs if lucky, and though that's actually getting changed. I'm changing it right now, and I've got another set soaking, and then I just went and picked up another set. So um, I try to use more rear brake and kind of ride the clutch a little bit going to the corner just to help ease the chassis more and everything. And
You're like
I also think
you're a human slipper clutch.
kind of, and I think it's almost more or less like
Okay.
I also don't know what the fuck I'm doing when it comes to road race. So it's like
Okay.
I do, but at the same time, it's like I don't have enough experience with it. I know enough to be fast and dangerous, um,
But you
but it's
don't know
like I
why.
don't. Yes, yes. So it's like,
Okay.
but I'm starting to figure it out too. I'm starting to figure it out. It's one of those things that
I think I
like I
just
said,
made a T-shirt, dude. I think we just came
hey,
up with a T-shirt idea.
that's fine. That's fine. That's
Like
fine. We could do that.
I'm fast enough to be dangerous, but I don't know why.
Yeah, exactly. No, we could do that. We could put that on a shirt. Yeah, it's every time I go on the track, I'm learning something new. And I'm to the point now where like I got a pair of 12s at Laguna, uh, but I'm running as hard as I can and as hard as the bike's allowing me to. It's if I here this would set it in prime example of where I'm at with where the bike's at. So it was making 165, 166, like mid 160s, high 160s back in
Yeah.
2021 when Barnes rode it. He got a second or a third at Laguna in 2021. I looked at the times that I ran versus the 2021 times to figure out, you know, where would I have been on a bike that was built for that era? Like if I was in 2021 and I raced this thing, where would I have been? I ran a faster lap time this year at Laguna than Kyle Wyman did back in 2021. He ran a 135.6. I ran a 135.4. Ben Bostrom ran a 135.2, and Taylor Knapp ran a 135.3. And that was everything from third to sixth. So it's like I now know where I'm at on a bike is like what it's making. It's mid 150 bike, and the chassis it could use the upgraded trees, could use the upgraded swing arm. Factory Harley claims, which I don't think I shouldn't say the claim, but as well as I do, it's if you have a better geometry, you're going to shave seconds off. If you have better more rigid chassis. You know, if you have a better swing arm versus, say, if you ran a stock swing arm versus a fully built race spec swing arm, or whatever the case may be. I guess I really don't know much about, you know, road race outside of Super Hooligan and Baggers, but it's like they're developing that swing arm, and it's more rigid, so you don't get a lot of body sway.
Okay.
And they're claiming that it's good for, because you can excel so much harder out of the corners. It's good for 2 seconds.
Oh, no shit.
So it's like,
So
if
you're
I,
like shut up and take my money.
yeah, pretty much. Well, their swing arm's $8,000, so that's like,
That's like a 660,
yeah, pretty much.
right? I don't know
So
about that,
it's
but
close, maybe with trade in.
oh, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
So it's one of those things of, I know where the bike is at, which, like I said, it really impressed me to see, you know, what my times were compared to 2021 times. Obviously, there's now a new surface on
Yeah.
Laguna, but at the
What'd you
same
think of
time,
the
it's
new
like,
Surface, dude?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. 6, yeah, 6 is the mid uphill turn.
Yeah, it's
Right?
the G out.
Yeah, there's still a random. I don't like that dip, but it's not as bad as last year, I feel like.
It's not, but
Um,
it's still there.
yeah, it's still there.
How about turn one?
Last year the 890, it wasn't bad.
Okay.
Which, and it still blows my mind. Turn one is even a turn. It's it's a turn, but it's like a 15-degree, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's not much.
I mean, you know,
So
the superbike guys were talking about getting both wheels off the ground right there.
I didn't get
And
both wheels, but
I
I
did on
got
Tuesday on my R1, and it was like, dude, like the rear
on
end's
this.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
on this I was getting the front wheel off every time.
Oh,
You
of
know,
course.
I'm full tuck, and next thing you know, the front.
You're like, ah.
All right. Oh, what happened there?
It's like Isle of Man.
Yeah, it was cool. I'd love to do that too. That'd be fun. I don't think,
Yeah.
and my fiance was watching it with me, and she's like, "Would you ever do Isle of Man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know, I would do it. I don't think I want to try and race it like full throttle, but you know, I would go do it." And she's like, "Man, I was not expecting you to answer like that. I figured you'd be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go do it." You know, like, I think it would
That's a
be neat.
special kind of somebody to do that. I mean, when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, Isle of Man, that'd be great.
Yeah,
And now I'm older, and I'm like, man, that'd be dumb. Like, I would totally
I
die there. Like,
yeah, I would do it. But I don't think I'd want to go full throttle. You know.
yeah, then why fucking do it? You know what I mean?
I
Like, it's
know,
either
I
all or
know.
nothing, right?
The other thing is, what's the
Northwest
northeast
200.
northwest 200? What is
Yeah,
that? So that's another through town race, isn't it?
yeah, it's another I don't know, road race they call it. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what it's like Irish or whatever, but yeah, like
yeah,
it's that's a special kind of something. You know,
yeah.
your
I
nemesis
know.
there, Patricia, she's done
Yep,
that.
she's done it.
Yeah.
Corey's done it. Corey just did it this year for the first time,
Oh, really?
and yeah, and man, that stuff is awesome. Like I said, it'd be cool to do that. I think that's a little bit. Um, I don't know how much more safe I would say it is, because it's still racing down the
Dude,
road.
you're racing around buildings and curbing,
Yeah,
and just like
yeah.
if you make a mistake
If you just nick your
on one
front
of
leg on a
those
curb,
style road courses, like you could
yeah,
get switched off really easy. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I'm just not into that, dude. Like you stack these road race bikes, and you see it all the time, right? You stack these things, and
yeah,
you could be a little hurt, but a lot of times you just get up and your bike's smashed, right? But
yeah.
over there, it's like you
You
get
just flipped
both.
it into somebody's dining room. They're trying to have their dinner,
Yeah.
and you just ruin their
Yeah,
tea
you like
crumpets. It's
interrupted
like,
their episode of TMZ or whatever, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, no, I don't know. I think it'd be cool. Like I said, I try to do as much as I can. I don't know if that'd even be possible in my books, but yeah, I think,
What's your favorite track on the circuit so far on the road race side?
well, like I said, so since I've only done
Laguna, Daytona, Road Atlanta,
Atlanta, yeah,
and,
and Road America,
Road
so
America. What'd you
I've
think of
only
Road America?
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Again, I'd never been there before the surface was added.
Okay.
I really liked the new surface. Uh, I liked
Dude, I
like
feel
being
like
there.
it's so weird talking to somebody that's so green in road race.
So
It's
that's
like,
the
what the fuck, dude?
yeah. So that's literally like what I wanted to tell you, like talk to you about. It's like
Yeah,
you could literally throw names out. I know nobody. You know, I have not a clue who
that's why I
anybody
threw
is.
out
I
Frankie.
don't. Yeah,
So you know,
I
you
don't
know him.
watch. Yeah, I know my Rolodex of people are like Frankie, Rispoli, PJ Jacobson because he flat tracked, Corey Alexander, you know, and then Corey West, Patricia, you know, which all those people I know because of Super Hooligan last year.
Okay.
Hayden Gillum, Jake Lewis, Nick McFadden, you know, which I know Nick doesn't road race anymore. But I mean, those are pretty much all the people that I know. Stefano Mesa, I know him. He's good shit. He's funny.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Have you thought about doing any? Have you done any coaching or anything? You received any coaching? Done any schools or anything like that?
you know, I've actually I want to, and I never really thought about it. It was never really like something that kind of popped into my head. Like you know, I started a bike shop and mostly performance and service work and stuff like that, and I was like, you know what, I want to get into the street bike scene. Like I want to get something, but I don't know what I want to get, and it's like, well, I want to be able to use it as a track bike or race it in a class, you know, if I want to, but I also want it to be streetable for the most part. But it'd be mostly just something that I could use because I've got a dyno. I bought a dyno back in December. Um, Finally getting the concrete poured. Saturday it gets poured actually. Building gets added on, and we get to throw that up, and so it's like I wanted something that I could play around on, and you know, to this day, I haven't tracked a legit street bike, a legit
Wow.
race bike. You know, it's
Wow, man.
90 in the bagger.
You're
Like I
like
said,
blowing my mind right now, dude.
I've got Daytona, Atlanta, Laguna, Road America, and Laguna,
And you're about to
and
have
2 track
Brainerd.
days. And I've got 7 road race experiences all in my life, and 5 of those 7 have been, or 5 of the 7 have been races with Moto America, and one of the 7 has been a track day at a track that I raced with Moto America. So it's like I
Yeah,
don't know
bro.
shit. You know,
Yeah, we gotta
it's
get you going, man. Like,
yeah.
I mean, what are you doing for training? Are you a jogger? You
You know
psych
the
mountain biker, dirt motocrosser? Like, what?
I I ride a lot of motocross. I
Okay,
used to. I haven't really ran road much this year. It's mostly just been stress eating or not eating, lack thereof, from starting a shop, and my
trying to make
fiance,
a
she's
honest living.
yeah, yeah, my fiance, she's big into weightlifting and stuff like that, and um I used to go to the gym here and there. Like when I went and did the stuff for the Mint 400, I was in really good shape, and then we traveled, and I hate to say it, but I love trying new foods. I love eating food. I love everything about food, and it's like,
Talking to the former fat
man,
guy right here, bro.
yeah,
Like, you're speaking
yeah,
my language, you know?
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't do as much as I should.
Okay.
When I do, if anything, it's like a light cardio. Uh, Otherwise, mostly it's just a show up race, you know, which is terrible. That's a terrible mindset to have, but that's kind of what it is, nonetheless. Um,
I got a couple of questions coming in if you want to hear them.
yeah, yeah,
All right. So Davey Stone, he's a former racer, and he just came out to our track day a couple days ago. But he he was out at that Arma event and stuff, and
yeah.
he wanted to know how do you feel battling it out with Patricia Fernandez? After all, she's the quote queen of the baggers.
She, man, she's a damn good racer. She really is. There's been times where it's like I get stuck behind her. It's like I know that I can get around her, like with the hooligan stuff. Um, but I mean, she's so smart. She's got a lot of rider,
Racecraft.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't know shit coming into road racing, so it's like I've been beat by a lot of girls in flat track. Girls are typically every girl that I've ever came across that races a motorcycle. If they're fast, they're smooth, they're consistent, they don't make mistakes, and that's pretty much how she is. Last year at Atlanta, I always try to say road Atlanta. At Atlanta, she wrecked going down the hill into turn 11, um, real bad, and I think it put a dampener on her whole weekend. We had a pretty good battle at Laguna last year, and yeah, I mean it. To me, it's like if I'm getting beat or anything like that, 9 times out of 10, I'm trying to study what people are doing. Like
Okay.
for the best, like I love watching it. Um, like I said, I jumped in for Road America and then Laguna, and it's like every time I lined up in my head, I'm a little pissed because like I can't see what these people are doing because I want to watch the race and better myself. See, okay, what kind of racecraft are they doing? What kind of lines are they doing? When do they start downshifting? When do they start doing this and doing that? So it's like it bums me out that I
It's so
can't
weird
see
that you're
that.
learning all this shit on the
Yeah,
fly, bro.
I
Like
know.
at a national. Like
So that's what.
I'm still tripping out on that, dude.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that, like I said, it not a lot of people understand it, and they're like, "Oh, you've road raced this long, this, and this," and it's like, no, I haven't. I've got seven road race experiences, and 5 of them are all on the line at Moto America. So it's like
Wow.
I don't know shit when it comes to road race, and like I said, that's what made me feel good when I went back and I looked at the times that I was running at Laguna, and then when that bike was built, it's like, man, that put me at anywhere from third to fourth. So if we had a power restriction of,
And a
if
DeLorean,
yeah, yeah,
right?
pretty much, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
If we did a power delay or restriction instead of a cubic inch, or yeah, cubic inch, 131. If we had a power limit where it was 165, first of all, your motors aren't going to be blowing left and right. All these guys are blowing up motors, changing a motor out. If they don't blow it up, they're changing it out the night before the day, like the second race. Um, whereas this thing's just been chugging
You've
along,
just been like raping that thing for the whole
Yeah.
time you've had it.
Yeah, and so it's like I know when they first built it, they ran 9 full weekends on it, and it never. They pulled it apart, and he's like, you know what? I pulled the motor apart. Pistons look great. I'd love to throw it back together for another nine rounds and see what happens. Um,
Okay.
so it's like you hit that spot of. For me, I'm at the point where it's like, okay, I need to update the chassis, but I need to do the motor a little bit too. So it's like, well, if I do the motor, then I'm going to have a second motor, because if the 175 or 170 horse motor pops, then I'm
You
going
don't
to
want
say,
to be at a
well,
national halfway across the
no,
country and have an engine shit itself and
yeah,
nothing to swap out, right?
yeah, and the biggest thing is like this is all literally everything is out of our pockets. Me
Yeah.
and Dad, and the
Wow.
biggest help that I've gotten is Motul, and they've
I was gonna ask you about that. Like,
yeah,
who's your support? It sounds like you and your dad are kind of like doing the thing, but like
yep,
no
and that's
support. But you're
that's
saying
no
Motil's
support.
helping out. I see
Motul's
your
helping
Fast
out.
House
Well,
T-shirt.
yeah, Motul's helping out. Fast House helps out a little bit. They're more or less like, here's a discount code for some motocross gear, which now that I'm road racing, it's like, man, I really don't,
Oh, thanks.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but they're still badass people. I like what they stand for. Lindahl Brakes, they help out with the rotors and the brake pads and stuff and
Dude, I actually
sprockets, and
met the Lindahl guys.
yeah,
What's the guy's name? First name?
Paul.
Paul Lindahl. Yeah, I met that
Yeah,
dude.
he's good. He's good shit. He's real
Yeah.
good shit. And then as far as that, I mean, really pretty much it. Horsepower Inc. They built the motor. Jimmy Wyatt HPI, he built the motor and stuff. And I know that if I needed him, like, hey dude, like stop what you're doing. I need a tune, or can you help me with this? Like, I'm sure he would help. But like I said earlier, I'm the person that I don't like to ask too much. Hell, I
Okay.
no tool off because it's like I had to get some oil for one of my bikes or something, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to bother them. So I went online and I ordered a shit ton of oil, and got to the shop and I changed the oil. And up in Milwaukee, I was talking to one of the guys, and I told him that, and he's like, dude, he goes, what are you doing? He goes, don't do that. I'm like, well, still, like I said, I don't like to be the person that
You
that
should
needs.
you should hang out. Honestly, you should hang out with Frankie Garcia a little bit more.
He's
I'm sure Frankie will help steer you on a
yeah.
better path, bro. Like you got to be able to learn. Like you can't be told no if you don't ask.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. And like there was a time where it's like I had a few really good resumes wrote up, and like they're like slideshow, I mean, all the works, pictures, everything. It was really nice, presentable. And it's like I just started rapid firing them to some people, and see what would work. And some of the places were like, well, we're not really accepting anything until fall, which you get a lot of that. And then it's
Yeah.
like, then the other thing that kind of sucks is when it just feels like it drags on. So then, like I said, it to me it's almost easier just to spend the extra money and just do it yourself,
Well, if
which
you have
it
it,
sucks.
if
Yeah,
you
and it
have it,
sucks. Yeah, it sucks, but it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. I would definitely, like I said, I that thing needs to be updated. Like I've been running top 12, respectively. Uh, but I think the 5 second, 3 second, 5 second difference that I get into even top 10 is just the lack thereof of horsepower. And so I mean
Well, I
that's
think I'll say that I think it's probably a combination of a few things, right?
yeah.
I mean, if you want to get to the point in, you're gonna have to make some different choices, right?
Oh
Not
yeah.
only not only from the preparation standpoint from your motorcycle, but also your fitness overall,
Yep.
like as an athlete, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Like
you know,
I don't
like the magic horsepower thing might not solve the problems, right?
correct.
You get that,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I do know that. I do know that for
Okay.
a fact. Like I try not to eat super shitty. Like I said, I do like food, so it's like if I go somewhere out of town, it's like okay, maybe one meal, two meals, like I'll try, but I don't try to get the most loaded down.
Are you
I
going
seen
to?
somebody,
Are you going to Texas later this
yeah,
year as well,
yeah.
Coda?
So we do Brainerd, Coda, New Jersey.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so
I
that'll
think
be really good.
you're gonna like New Jersey too, man. Like it's a trip. That track is like
To
up and down and like
Yeah, so to
yeah,
full circle back to what you're talking about, like the coaching,
yeah.
I am I'm gonna try and get in with a school. I know there's a school out there. I think it's that is
Yamaha
it
Champions Riding
California?
School.
No, I think it's the California
Oh, the
um,
Superbike school.
Superbike. I think that's what it is.
Oh, at Jersey or at Coda?
Yeah, at Jersey, and I was like,
Okay.
because that was the only other one. I'm like, because I was thinking, I've been trying to, I try to find. Now I'm to the point where it's like, okay, I want to spend the money to go figure the track out before I just get there and it's I don't know what it is. Like
Right.
that's kind of what I did with Road America, where we did the test day with Dunlop, and it was like I got that opportunity. I'm 5.5 hours away. I'm gonna make the drive up.
Right.
I've never been to Coda, never been to Brainerd, but it's too late now to go find a track day at Brainerd. I don't think I can find a track day at Coda, but I do know there's track days coming up at New Jersey, and it looks like a legit track.
Yeah.
Um, and I hate to say legit, but it's like you do. Like I said, of my first couple races, I ran Atlanta, which is a beautiful track, and then did Daytona too, and then I went and did Black Rock Farms, which is again, it's a nice track, but it was like from what I first experienced to then to like step down, which is like I said, it's a
Yeah, you
nice track.
started
It's a good,
out doing the show, and then you go to a
yeah,
club race track, and you're
yeah,
like, wait a
yeah,
minute.
yeah. I was like, this
Fucking
isn't prim and proper. No, no,
the
I
peasant, only the peasants right here.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
only the peasants race dirt track. No, no, but yeah, no, that it's I don't know. I've wanted to find a few different places to do track days and that, and hone my skills in, and again, as far as like self diet and stuff like that,
yeah,
like
there's a
I
discipline to it,
go,
man. There's a
yes,
discipline to
there
it.
is, and it's, I tell you what, I'm terrible about following it.
You have to.
I said
Like,
my
how bad do you
fiance.
want it, dude? How bad
Oh,
do you want it?
absolutely,
How bad do
absolutely
you want
bad,
it? Right?
terrible, awesome, yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah,
that's ask yourself that. Like, how what's your overall goal, and like how bad
yeah,
do you want to reach that goal, and if
yeah,
and how like does that piece of chocolate cake is that worth the
yeah,
what you're trying to get
yeah.
after? You know
And
what I mean?
it's terrible because,
So
like I said, my fiance is huge into eating healthy and going to the gym every day, and she
you
does it.
have
And
you have a
it's
live-in coach.
yeah, and it's like, she's so smart about it. It amazes me. It's like when it comes to me and dirt bikes, that's the way she is with the gym and like how to eat and like tracking macros and all this stuff. And it's like
Wow.
I when we cook, like she cooks dinner, and it's like I eat good for dinner. I eat good, at home. It's like, but I'll get a snack throughout the day or something, and it's like I have terrible sugar cravings. So like sometimes like I'll get a pop or I'll get a candy bar or get this or get that. And
You'll
it's
get a
like,
pop.
yeah, yeah. It's like I'm not super out of shape, because it's like when it comes to the road race stuff, like I said, like I mean you're doing a lot on a road race bike,
Yeah.
but it's like I could do, it doesn't, to me, coming from flat track, it doesn't feel like you're doing much. I mean, you're
Oh,
moving the
okay.
bike around quite a bit, but it's like I could go run 12 laps at the local short track and just come off beat in the face and just, like I just rode my ass off. Whereas like I'll come off the track and I might be a little bit, like fatigued just a little bit, but it's like really overall, it's like, man, I could go out for another 8 laps. Like it's not, it's different.
I'm
It's
rooting
more of
for you,
a,
man. I really
yeah,
am. I'm
yeah.
rooting for you. I want
It's,
you to do better.
oh
Like
no,
I
absolutely.
mean, like the shit that you're telling me, and I'm like, you're blowing my mind because you're just like, yeah, I don't train. I just go out and do it. Like
And I
to
think,
be 20 to be 27 again.
yeah.
Hmm.
So like you said, I think a big change in myself would be diet,
Okay.
and I think, as far as that goes, I think if I dieted and did more cardio and a little bit more exercise, I think that would help. Um, but then I think the next thing is like I said, I think geometry, and I hate to revert back to the horsepower thing, but it's like
Well,
geometry and
that's just
horsepower,
one
and
of the
yeah,
the blocks of the whole thing,
yeah,
right?
correct,
Yeah.
correct. And now it's like, now it's to the point I'm twisting the throttle as hard as it can go. It's not pitching me off, but there's been a couple times where it's like, okay, I'm starting to really ride this thing to the limits, and I'm seeing in the time um, where that horsepower difference would make up that
Yeah.
extra 3 seconds or that extra 5 seconds, and it's like I know where I'm at. I know, obviously, I know that I can be better. There's no doubt in my mind about that at all. Um,
Let me ask you this, man. Like, there's another question coming in. This
yeah,
one's from
yeah.
Chunky Buns.
All right,
Chunky
chunky
Buns.
buns.
She says, "What's been your least favorite experience at the national level with Moto America so far?" Why you gotta be so negative, Chunky Buns?
Man,
The
yeah,
positive too, man. Like positive and negative. Like, did
yeah.
you? Let me ask you this: did you get fined for pit lane speed limit yet?
I haven't. I have not. I do.
Lucky.
Every time I come down the pit lane, I'm like in my mind because I don't read. kilometers.
They're handing those things out like Tic
Oh, they
Tacs.
are. They are. They did 127 pit lane violations. Where was it? Was it Atlanta?
Road America, right? Or
No, it was before Road America. What was before Road America?
no, it all kind of blends in, man.
Let me go
Atlanta, I
back and look.
guess. I mean, maybe. I know
No, it
they've
was
been.
Birmingham. It was
Oh, okay, it
Alabama.
was Alabama. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
they're handing out pit lane speed limit
Oh
fines
yeah.
left and right,
They
dude.
cracked down on it. Well, with all
Yeah,
the air fence that went down, So I mean,
yeah,
that's a good thing that it goes back to the community as
yeah.
far as the race wise. So it's not like a total loss.
But have you
But I,
you were talking about that other club, the other organization having a bunch of tic tacky rules popping up every weekend. Have you noticed any of that kind of behavior at Motor America at all?
yes and no.
Okay.
So with the
This is
super
me,
hooligans.
dude. This is my show. Like we're gonna talk
No,
about it,
no.
right?
Oh, I'm fine with it. I don't give a shit. Like the super hooligan stuff, like there's a lot of discrepancy on what can be run and what can't be run.
Okay.
I know there's a big deal with the KTM's and the FTRs and those
Like
FTRs
the
are making.
handlebar thing. I saw
Yeah, and
that. That was a little weird.
yeah, and there's things that I don't I don't see a problem with, but there's also things that it's like, okay, it is in a rule, like you can't be doing that. I don't personally, to answer that, I haven't had any negatives happen to me yet.
Okay.
Um, I think the maybe one of the big things is there's sometimes officials that enforce things one day and then the next day they don't, or either they don't say anything about something and then they pass you through tech 4 races in a row, and then the fifth race they're like, oh, you got to have this and this, and it's like
Yeah.
I what? Like this is news to me. Which and on that aspect, like I said, coming from no background, it's like I've read everything that I can read,
Yeah.
and now I'm swimming in the ocean, and it's
That shit happens at the club level too in road
yeah,
race. I mean, it's like
yeah,
you could race the same club every weekend, and you get a different tech guy one morning, and the different tech guy is asking for shit that
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
So ultimately, I would say I haven't experienced anything negative. Um, I've seen people get you know everything at a book thrown at them, and
yeah,
I think that's one of those things of who you get, when you get them, what kind of mood they're in.
which
Uh,
makes no sense, does it?
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It
There is
should.
that RTFB thing, right?
Yeah,
The rule
yeah,
book. Read the fucking rule book. Like like
yeah,
however the rule book is, that's what they should. That's the Bible there, right? That's the way it
yeah,
should be. So, and the rules should apply to everybody equally. Yeah.
yeah. I don't.
And dude, we're over an hour and a half already.
Oh, I'm fine with it. If
Just
you
a
got
heads
more
up.
questions, I gotta text you. She asked, "Are you all right?" I don't think she thought that this was gonna go very long.
Oh, look at that. I didn't either, honestly. I have no idea who you are until we've been on the show. Like I'm getting to know you is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any like let's just I kind of want to wrap this thing up. So like do you have any sponsors besides Motul and Fast House that you'd like to thank for this thing or just
You
keep your
know,
wheels turning? What's the name of your shop?
King Performance.
Of
Like I
course it
said,
is.
yeah. So like I said, I opened it up last fall.
Okay.
There's really not a lot of people in my area that does performance bike work, or the performance Harley scene. It hasn't really hit my area. Um, it's like I said, I started that. I went from construction to starting this. I figured it's a little bit nicer to not work 6 foot in the ground every day. Yeah, so we do high performance speed twin accessories, parts, installs. I got a dyno that's going in here in the next couple weeks, so that'll be cool. Maybe do some turbo things.
There you
It's
go.
There's all sorts of stuff.
Burnout. You get to start building burnout bikes and stuff, right?
Yep.
Hell
Burnout
yeah.
bikes, stunt bikes, all that good
Hell yeah.
jazz. Um, yeah. As far as sponsors, HPI, Lindahl, Motul, Bell Helmets, Saddlemen. Um,
Mission chips.
no,
No.
Mission doesn't sponsor me. They sponsor our
Um.
series, but they don't sponsor me.
So
I
you
do. I do.
basically you eat the nachos, but you have to buy
Yep.
them.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I can sit at the table, but I gotta pay.
Okay.
So that's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a pretty small group that I've got, and which I'm fine with it. It's one of those things that I would love the opportunity or love the support, but at the same time, it's I've had a couple of the officials tell me like your bike is thorough because there's only you and one other person that works on it. There's not like these big teams that have 15 crew people
Yeah.
working on it, and it's like there's so many things that might get overlooked or underlooked, and it's just because there's so many personalities in the pit, and
Yeah.
again, it's cool,
And dude, it even happens at top
mistakes
level
happen.
teams, right?
Oh yeah,
Mistakes
yeah,
happen. I mean,
for
if
sure.
anybody that watched the Moto America races and the practices or whatever at the last round, the like Gagne came out of the pits and went for the brakes, and there was nothing there, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, that
yeah,
happens even on the top championship teams. Weird
yeah,
stuff happens sometimes. That team has less people on it than some of the other teams, which is surprising. But you know, some
yeah.
some people can do more with less. You're doing mostly the van out of the in the small trailer thing, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so the van was broke down beginning of the year. So then we did a truck and trailer at Laguna.
Okay.
I did a camper and trailer at Road America. Did a Laguna. Like I said, Dad and I we drove out. We set up cots in the trailer, which it was a brisk 50 some odd degrees that I wasn't expecting. For some reason, I thought it was warmer last year, which it might have been, but um, yeah, set up cots in the enclosed trailer, and we just camped out, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much what we did. We left Sunday at 6:30, drove straight through, just the two of us. We flipped back and forth. I got home 5:30 in the morning on Tuesday. I went to bed at about 6:45 a.m. and woke up about 9. Came to the shop, did a little bit of work, cleaned the trailer out, got the my bagger cleaned up, and then the my Dyna cleaned up. Went to Milwaukee and
Yeah, you did the 120th thing, right?
did the 120th. I
Did you
had the
meet? Did you
bagger.
meet? What is it? Willie?
No,
You
no. I
didn't.
only I only met Bill. Bill is the main guy at the museum. Bill
Okay.
Davidson is. He's a good dude.
Okay.
Frankie introduced me to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I did.
There's a
I had the
commenter actually that says that the Frankie Garcia connection would be probably a great help for you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Frankie's a good dude. I didn't know him really well at first, but then it was like I hang around him and we message back and forth and bullshit, and he's a really good dude. Really, really good dude.
I've known him
I've
since he was
come.
like 14.
Yeah, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to the personality than just Hollywood.
Oh,
As how he carries himself, because like I said, he's a good dude, and I was I kept thinking to myself as like every time I got around him, it seemed like at Laguna and then in Wisconsin, it was like, hey, here's so and so, or this is so and so, or
yeah.
and I'm like, man, like
Frankie
I
is the
like
mayor, dude.
yeah, like
Frankie is the mayor.
I've always liked
Frankie is
Frankie.
the mayor of the baggers,
I would say that. I would definitely say that. He's
right?
a he's a he's a damn good advocate for it. Like I said, I never really knew him, but I always liked him. And then it's
Yeah.
like now that I know him and and I'm around him more, it's like, Frankie's good shit. And his dad, Frank is awesome.
Yep.
Um, so little Burlington, that's where I live, Burlington, Iowa.
Iowa.
There
A
is
lot of
a
corn. A lot of corn.
all the corn. We're a river town. There is a
The corn just flows down the river, right?
yeah,
Just,
pretty much,
yeah.
pretty much. There is a wedding venue that is it's a barn. They call it Barn on the Ridge. It's like north of town, 20 minutes. Um, and this couple that I grew up racing with the daughter. She's from Illinois, over by Peoria, which is 2 hours from me. She married Bronson Ballman, which the Ballmans are from Salinas, and it was just like they knew Frankie because they grew up in Salinas with Frankie, and I get a phone call, shortly thereafter their wedding. I didn't know their wedding was here in Burlington, and Frank calls me and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "I didn't know you lived in Burlington," and he sends me this ad. There was a House representative of Iowa made this big like ordeal about me at Washington State at the
What?
Capitol. Yeah, made this
Shut
big.
up.
No, go to YouTube and type in Kole King, Burlington, Iowa. I can't even think of her. That's so terrible. But she's one of the House representatives for Iowa, and she had this big poster board of me like from when I won the GNHC champion, and she wanted to thank me and show appreciation to me, and said that the state of Iowa was rooting for me, and this is in the
That's
Capitol building. And
badass, dude.
I'm like, what? And he sent me that. He's like, dude, he goes, that's how I found out you lived in Burlington. He goes, I wish I would have known because I was there for the wedding. I was like, oh, that's cool. So
That's
it's
crazy,
like,
man.
and I didn't even know about it. And it was like it was a year prior that had been posted. I'm like, well, shoot, I wish I'd have been notified. I would
Wow,
have flown
man.
out and got an autograph from the speaker.
That's
That'd have been
hilarious, man.
cool. Yeah, no. So yeah, Frankie, a good dude. He's a real good dude.
Well, you know what, Cole, it's been a good chat, buddy. I'm gonna wrap this thing up, but
Yeah.
dude, thanks for the chat, man. I'm gonna be rooting for you at Brainerd. I'm curious what your thoughts are of the place afterwards. Maybe I'll hit you up,
Yeah.
offline after and find
Yeah.
out what you thought of that that whole place, dude.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
many?
No.
Like, I'll ask you if you find somebody that says "you betcha" like in a real
Yeah.
way,
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll be there. They'll be
No,
there
they will.
pretty
100% they
pretty
will.
deep. Yeah.
Like,
I hope they don't come in flash mobs.
how long after you enter the property of the racetrack will it take for you to hear that
I'll
phrase,
I'll start a timer.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Or give me what other phrase do you got for?
let's see. Well, I think there's "Don't you know," and then
Don't you know? Yeah.
Zaleski, she's former racer. She runs like a school out there. She says some weird
Oh.
shit too, but I can't
Yeah.
remember what it was because it was so like out there. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
I'll remember that, and I'll start a timer. And yeah, we
right
can.
on, dude.
I can let you know either in private or whatever. I'd like to do another one of these. Like I said,
Yeah, dude, I'm
this
open
is one
for
of
it,
my
man. This has been
yeah.
fun, getting to know you as a person, and
Yeah.
a long form discussion. We get to actually really find out what you're
Yeah.
about, and you're all about motorbikes, man. I'm stoked for you. I'd love to see you get some training. Maybe hook
Yeah.
up with my buddies at the Yamaha school. Uh, they could help steer you in the right direction a little bit more with your skill set. And then
Yeah.
also on the bike prep side, it'd be cool to see what you can do with all the fancy swing arm and shit. Do you even have
Yeah.
auto blipper and quick shifter stuff yet? Slipper
Nope.
clutch? None
I've
of that?
got I've got a quick shift in a box somewhere around here.
Yeah, maybe you
I
should
have
put that on. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
I haven't had time to. So the
You
linkage
got to
is.
make time, bro.
I know. So the linkage is supposed to be so long,
Yeah.
and I've got to machine it down,
Yeah.
and it's just.
So machine it
I
down.
do have to make time. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know.
All right,
if it'll
man. Well,
go in for dinner,
I gotta wrap this thing up, bro.
yeah, no,
Like,
that's
we
fine.
can go
That's
forever.
fine.
I gotta
could.
go,
We
dude.
could. All right. Hey, you're good. You're good, dude.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man,
let's
it's been
do
a
this
fun
again.
chat, dude. Seriously, I wish you the best of luck, man. And anybody that watches this, please comment, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. And Cole, whoop some ass, dude. Don't let
I'm
Patricia
going
beat
to.
you
Oh,
anymore,
I
man.
won't. I
Come on,
won't. I
dude.
won't. It was
I'm gonna
one
hold you to
time.
that. I'm gonna hold you
All
to
right.
that.
All
All right.
right. Take care.
Cool, man.